What's good, everyone? This is Artists of Truth. I hope everyone is having a positive uh, evening and the start of your work week. Let me go ahead and cut to the chase. The decision in the Alton Sterling case, which again, it doesn't surprise me. There's no charges being filed against the officers in the in the murder of Alton Sterling. It is a sad day, but it should not, it shouldn't surprise citizens of New Orleans. It shouldn't surprise citizens of any state, city, or country town, because there's an issue. There's an issue. There lies a psychological disorder, a mental disorder with a lot of police officers in this country. And I find it quite amusing that in this country, it takes you less than a year to become a police officer. They were talking about bridging the gap between the New Orleans Police Department and the city which Alton Sterling was murdered. They always talking about bridging the relationship, but with all honesty, I have to say, how can you bridge a relationship between citizens and police officers when you continuously are looking at crimes being committed against citizens? I do understand that you have a lot of police officers that they fall behind the whole the whole saying of, oh, I fear for my life, I fear for my life. And my thing is, as for a police officer, if you can't develop a relationship with people in a specific community that you are performing a beat, you're operating a beat for, if you cannot develop a relationship with them, you shouldn't be a cop. If you are so scared and you fear for your life, you shouldn't be a cop. And I feel that when it comes to hiring police officers, me personally, I feel that a psychiatric evaluation must be performed. You really and truly need to get into the minds of some of these men and women who you hire as police officers, because I hear a lot of, I've heard officers actually say that, you have some irrational, crazy people out there, And that's very, it's very, very frightening. And I agree with them. There are people out there, there are citizens out there in the world, in this country, who are very, very irrational. They're loose cannons, uh, mentally disturbed. There is. It really is. So that means if there are citizens out there in the world who are, out there in this country who are mentally challenged, mentally disturbed, psychiatrically, they're not all together. There are police officers who are actually working the beat in your city, in your state, who are operating with the same mindset. And the sad part about it is a lot of, hiring departments, they see the signs and then they ignore them. They receive complaints, but they ignore them. And if you're talking about bridging the relationship between police officers and the citizens of city and state, you have to start at the head. So you have to start with the police chief. When you start getting cases like these, we have to start looking at the police chief, because if you have multiple complaints on these police officers and you still keep them, that says a lot for the police chief, because he or she, they are obviously getting these complaints in and they're not doing anything. They're just rolling these complaints up into one big mass ball and then just want to kind of like drop it in his desk drawer and hope that it just goes away or it doesn't escalate into something major. So at that point in time, the trust of the citizens who are paying the salary of some of these police officers, there's no trust there. There's no trust. There's not going to be any respect. I mean, police officers, they can jump on you. They can try and beat the respect out of you. But 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen. I'll tell you this much. I know exactly what's going to end up eventually happening. You're basically, you're going to start getting these random calls from police, from citizens who are just basically, they're going to set some police officers up, point blank. And I know this to be true because I've heard it happen before. For to actually hear about stories where police officers were called out to a scene or some sort of domestic call. They came out there and they were ambushed. People are getting tired of that. And what's going to end up happening on top of that, when police officers start pulling out their guns, you're going to find citizens who are they're not going to be afraid. They're going to be very, very tired of it. They're going to start pulling out their guns. Then you're going to have a standoff. If a police officer shoots, you're going to have a citizen that's going to discharge his weapon as well. He or she. I know there's going to be people who are, they're going to disagree with me. I'm sure you're going to have Blue Lives Matter lovers and representatives that are probably going to jump out there and disagree with what I'm saying. And that's fine. But this is what's going to end up being the result. The whole peaceful protest that has came and gone. That has happened so many times that people can peacefully protest and whatnot, And then you'll have some officers, you have some Piglice who will antagonize peaceful protesters. If it's a peaceful protest, and this is something I never understand. If it's a peaceful protest, why is it that you have military style police officers, pig police coming out with, with these weapons already in hand? And my thing is, you have these so-called interviewers that sit down and interview police officers, but to me, they're not asking the right questions. And my thing is this: if an individual approaches you and they have their gun drawn, your alertness and that level of fear will surface. There's no way around that. So if you have a gun and someone is walking towards you and they have their gun already drawn, naturally you're going to reach for yours. There's no conversation, there's no questions asking, what you're going to do and this, that, and the fifth. That you have a split second that is either kill or be killed. And most of these officers, the sad part about it is most of these officers, they know a dirty cop. They have seen dirty cops in action, and they won't do anything. They won't say anything. They won't check them. They would actually stand back. And I will say this much: some of our own black men and black women would see a dirty cop and not have the balls to check another officer who is not upholding the law as he or she should. They'll see it. They'll see a dirty cop planting drugs on another individual who doesn't even have a record at all of drugs at all. But they will see them plant drugs on another individual and just won't say anything. And this happened. This has happened. And the sad part about it is you have a lot of cops, whether they are in LA, Texas, New York, Jersey, Atlanta, just being dirty, just being slick. And then the sad part about it is you have an officer that is actually gunned down. And it used to be a sad moment whenever I hear about a police officer getting gunned down. And now it's to the point where I was like, oh well, he had it coming. I really don't even care now. I have no compassion, because you really don't know if that was a good cop or if that was a dirty cop. Because of course the media and police precincts, they will never, ever, ever go against one of their own. They never will. See, it's a code that police, that pigs live by. New York, they have it. LAPD, they got some pig ass officers over there too. Texas. And this is nothing more than a repeat. It's more of a repeat. I'll do you one better. When have you ever heard of police officers actually taking it upon themselves to go out into these communities and really and truly interact with with the people. A lot of them don't. You have very, very few individuals who actually take it upon themselves to interact with the youth in the community, interact with the parents, the families in a community, to create a real bond, a real relationship. And I won't lie. I've even I've listened to some videos on Black Lives Matter on YouTube, and just hearing how police officers interact with people. You have some cops that are just racist. Some downright pig ass cops, scum bucket ass cops, dirty dick ass cops. I believe the only cop that really got caught up in this shit and wasn't able to wiggle his way out of it was the last, what was that? One police officer that was pulling females over, and he was assaulting them. He was raping them. That was the only pig ass cop that actually got burned. And really, to be honest, I hope he's, I hope he's in someone's prison getting his asshole ripped out of him. I hope that someone just happens to catch him and just drag his ass. Good. Because you deserve that. I understand that when you're locked up, and I won't lie, heck, I've been locked up myself. And I followed orders. I was respectful while I was locked up. And what I've noted when I was locked up is a lot of jailers, Piglice, they don't know how to interact. They treat you like shit. Not even knowing what you're locked up for. They treat you like shit. And the people who are so loving of Blue Lives Matter, they just love cops overall, regardless of whatever fuck ups they're actually doing. And they get caught with it, but they get away with it. What people fail to realize is you have to see it and experience it for yourself to see exactly what people are talking about. And I understand folks will jump out there and say, well, you shouldn't have done anything to get locked up. I was like, oh, okay. Well, what about the people that are on outside that hasn't even committed a crime, that have already been assaulted? They have been disrespected, talked to any old kind of way. You still think that's right? No, it's not. Because I'm pretty sure that if a lot of these police officers who are out here popping their mouth off at people that they don't know, if they didn't have a badge to hide behind, and I highly doubt, seriously, a lot of these Piglice would not, they wouldn't be bumping their gums. They wouldn't be talking to people any old kind of way. I'm sure, I can't go out here on the street and talk to people any old kind of way, because 9 times out of 10, someone would either block me on my head, punch me in my mouth, or probably pull out a gun and shoot me in the face. But see, you have a lot of cops out here. You have a lot of dirty ass cops out here who have no communication skills. They don't. And until you really start having these psych evaluations, these mental evaluations to determine whether or not an individual can become a police officer or not, you will continuously have the same shit happening over and over again. So don't talk about bridging a relationship between the citizens and police officers, because you're saying the same mess over and over again. Now, what are we currently dealing with? We're currently dealing with a shooting of a black man who police officers claimed, oh, we thought he had a gun. But you shot and killed a man in Sacramento, California, in his own backyard, his property. Shot and killed a man in his own backyard. Allowed him to bleed to death. Then you find out, oh, we thought he had a gun. You thought. Sad country we're living in.